So, episode 3 of the Non-League Natter is about to drop, and yeah, you guys have been really enjoying the first couple of episodes. Thank you very much indeed. You've been watching it, liking it, sharing it. It's been great, and I really enjoyed putting this series together. We're going to episode 3, and well, it's a manager that's close to home, to a club that's close to my home as well, Retford FC, Chris Woodhead, and we filmed this on the Easter weekend before the derby. So, and he'll talk about football in Retford, he'll talk about his career as well, and any stories he's got, and we'll just chat away about the football scene in Retford over the last few years, which has been absolutely astonishing. So, without further ado, take it away, Chris Woodhead. Yeah, so we're in the magnificent clubhouse, nearly 1 year on. I mean, I remember when it was just bricks and mortar, mate, when we came and did those videos.
Yeah, it's come on no end. A lot's changed since then as well. Obviously, we're having his own bar licence now as well, so obviously we're a fully functional bar as well. We call it a sports bar now because it's got everything in here. It's darts, pool table, everything in here. So it's developed even more since you came on the Man United game. So, but yeah, the club's going in the right direction. It's fantastic to see.
Do you sense? I mean, you've seen it, you know, in your non-league, you know, travelling with non-league football and even in football as well. And you see clubs that have not just with the infrastructure, but for play, you know, the players, you know, the playing staff as well. Is there a sense where there should be more clubs should be looking more outside rather than the playing structure and then thinking about more the infrastructure?
I think us as a club just have to look after ourselves and what we do, and yeah, we are looking to do stuff on the pitch and off the pitch. I think it's all right, obviously creating a good squad out there, but paying quite a bit of money to do that. But obviously, in terms of off the field, you've got to cover them costs. So you've got to make sure that your club's structured from top to bottom, really. And we're trying to do that. And that's why this was built, to create money for the club. There's some big news coming up. I'm not going to reveal it today, but there is some big news coming up further down the line that I'll be able to let you know about in the near future. But again, it's all about making sure that you cover all costs, because you've seen clubs who have paid lots of money out, done lots of things on the pitch, but not actually got it right off the pitch. And like I say, we've got people in the right places, and we're driving it to make sure that on and off the pitch we're right what we're doing.
Because it's such a unique ground of where it is, especially, you know, when we had the ground opening day. I remember people talking about the ground and thinking, wow, that, you know, next to the East Coast main line, it just adds that charm as well. And when you think about the club, it's been going 10 years this year as well. Can you imagine where it's been, and even the comments that people have talked about? Yeah,
well, like I say, I've said to you before at the Man United Legends game, it was a dream to start the club as it was in 2015, and there was a lot of people who told us we couldn't do what we've done. And I'm one of them that I want to prove people wrong. As you know, we started the club for a reason. It has developed since then, as it has. And again, next to the railway line, it's brilliant because obviously we get tweets off people who are stood there when there's any issues on the railway line, and they're obviously hearing about us. Seeing us when they're on the trains, and you get little tweets about that they stood outside. Looks like a nice little ground and stuff. So that's nice to see and hear. And we want to, like I say, we want to be best in class at this level. That's the biggest aim for us. And I think we've started really well in getting to that place that we want to be.
Well, it's great to see as well, and it's far cry, of course. You know, in your playing days, you were at Retford United as well. So
yeah, obviously, yeah, it was Retford United's obviously in the history of my footballing career, especially coaching. I finished football around when I was about 26, to be fair, because of my knees and my job that I did. So. Yeah, obviously I was at Retford United. A lot of things happened up there, and it pushed me on to obviously create Retford Football Club with Kev Swanwick, and I enjoyed it up there. I'm not going to lie, we had some good times up there. Local legend Willie Gamble and Scott Mowbray were up there at the time when I was only a young kid, and got me into men's football up there, and I really enjoyed it. And like I say, it was a good club to be at the time, and then it lost its way a bit. But at the end of the day, we are where we are now. We've started the club like we did, and like I say, we can only keep going forward, and the people in the place that we've got, we will keep pushing forward on that.
So would it have been Unibond League then? Time when you were?
Yeah, well, obviously I was a young lad when they were in Unibond. I was playing probably. I think it was the reserves that I was in for quite a long time, and it was enjoyable. It was full of Retford lads at that time as well. So. But obviously for us local lads trying to get into the Unibond team that there was at Retford United was quite tough at a young age, because it was a good standard back then, and there were some very, very good players that were coming in, and there were a lot of money thrown at the first team at that point, and it was fantastic. It was a club on the up, and they did really well. So yeah, but it was full of local lads, that team, and some of them did get into the first team and pushed on, and they did really well. So. Yeah, it was an enjoyable time in playing wise, so I can't take that away from him.
People forget that Retford United were on the cusp of the conference that it would have been at the time as well. And I remember growing up, being a lad from Donny and listening to Tracks FM and hearing the Retford United scores come through, and the famous, even then the likes of Worksop Town as well, and the local scene around that time. People, I don't think, again, unless you knew your non-league, especially around the Johnny way, didn't really know too much of Retford United or Worksop as well. When you talk about the local scene in football now, is it as hot as it ever been?
I think there's one thing that's happened locally. There's a lot of players who have dropped from higher up now because obviously locality. There's players that are obviously, they don't want to travel. And obviously when there's money in step 6 and step 5, there is a few players that don't want to travel in the higher leagues because there is some distances in step 4 and step 3. So obviously they've dropped down, but in terms of the local teams around here, you've got your Harworths, your SJRs are in the Central Midlands, and obviously yourselves, Ref United in step 6, and there's a lot of football about, and that's what we want really. We want the area to be full of football. We love it. The more teams, the merrier for me. Often criticised for starting this club in Retford. I have been many a times by different people. People say about a one-town club and stuff, but do you know what? I've seen the days of Retford Town that were here as well before, when they played on here. So it's happened before. I just can guarantee one thing, that this club will be around for a long time with the way it's going to be sustainable. And look, all these teams that are around here, I want them all to do well. I really do. And hopefully, like I say, the Arworths and the SJRs, Andrew Guest, who I give a lot of advice to when he first started that football club, and I want them to see them do well as well. So yeah, for the local football scene's on the up, and hopefully it can keep pushing on.
Let's say when you were playing for Retford United, who was like the big rivals then when you were sort of breaking into the teams?
Well, obviously at the times, like I say, I'm not here saying that I was a brilliant footballer, because I wasn't, and I was limited with opportunities at that level at that time. And in the reserves leagues that we played all the locals, Pinkstons, your South Normantons. We had a few teams from obviously Staveley at the time, and teams like that. So there were a lot of good teams around at that time, and obviously with the first team, what they were doing at that time, they were travelling to FC United of Manchester and teams like that, and it was, like I say, it was good. It was good to see, and like I said, my playing career then stopped really, and went into management, and obviously did the Retford United under-21s up there, which I really enjoyed, and we were very successful, and some good players came out of that team. Bobby Johnson, who's been around a long time, local kid, and he's at Gainsborough now, but he's been at some really good clubs. And so there was players, there's a couple more that I could mention, but I won't, who went on and did bigger things. And I hope that carries on with youngsters from around here to do well in football.
So what was your position then when you were playing in your playing days?
I was a right winger. I was very lucky when I played more Sunday League games. I was a right winger, and I had big Will Tomlinson to hit every time we crossed. So anytime I put a ball in the box, you've got a chance of scoring. So So yeah, I was a right winger quite quick back then. We had a very good, successful Sunday League side here at Flying Scotsman, who were a Retford team, and won a lot of things, the County Cup, and really enjoyable times. And obviously some of the Retford United lads who were playing Sunday League as well, we was in that team, and yeah, it was good fun. Really enjoyed it. Everything we did on Sunday mornings. There's some stories from back then, coming in at 3 o'clock in the morning and then up for 8 o'clock to travel to Nottingham to play County Cup games. That are tremendous, and different generation back then. Like now, you hear on Sunday League now where they don't get teams, they don't get a full 11. We could guarantee we had 16 players every week, and it didn't matter if you went out and had a few. You always turned up for football the next day. But yeah, the generation's changed on that Sunday League wise. But big advocate of Sunday League, and like I say, hopefully it boosts a little bit than it is at the moment.
Do you think it's down on its feet a little bit, Sunday League? Because I feel like with teams, especially like in your games with District League and even your Donny League, you see like you talk about teams dropping out and struggling to fight. When I was growing up, I mean, there was the Sunday League scene in Donny was absolutely crazy. You'd get 20 odd teams that be in it. Now, I mean, I've spoken to a few people who are playing the Premier Division, and they started with 12, they've whittled down to 8. What do you think it seems to be going wrong with Sunday League?
Like I just said, I think it's the generation. I think it's a generation thing. That I went to watch my brother play in the final at Games of Trinity the other night, and he was captain. And game's gone when I see my brother captain. But no, the standards dropped slightly. It has from what it used to be. But again, I think it's more down to obviously, like I say, the participation. How many people actually play Sunday League? So years ago, even if you played Saturday football, you played Sunday football as well. When money comes into this level, people are going to say, well, if you're getting expenses on a Saturday, you're not playing Sunday. So that obviously hinders it. And I look at that side of it and think, I don't like that, because obviously my Sunday League team when I first managed was Mattersey, which is a local village team around here, and when the Flying Scotsman finished, we went on and pushed on and won a lot of trophies when I was manager. And again, I had Bobby Johnson playing for us at that time, and Jack Johnson, his brother, who's played for me for many years, and going on with names, but they were all playing Saturdays as well as playing Sundays. But with money that's come into the game at this level, and the generation side that lads are just not that bothered about getting up on a Sunday morning, I think that's a big effect.
When I spoke to Nick Buxton about sort of money in the game, because he's at Donny City as well, and and we're talking about sort of the mentality of players now compared to back in your day when you were playing. But do you feel like, again, and you'll talk about players, I mean, we won't name names, but like players that jump from one club to another and to another as well, and there's not that consistency now with teams trying to, players trying to come in and make a career for themselves. But I understand like the money side of the game, which seems to be creeping in.
Hey, listen, we can be criticised for that what you just spoke about as a club, because obviously I've been manager here for this will be 10th year, and I never had a budget. But obviously we're at a situation where we can attract players, but to get these sort of players to get you up the leagues, if other people are paying expenses, you've got to compete with that. Listen, I'm not a massive fan of it, I'll be honest, at step 6. And as a club, we want to be successful. Unfortunately, it comes part and parcel. There is a lot of players who switch from club to club for an extra tenner. There's no doubts about it. But I've been quite lucky with players where, listen, there's players who play for me now who have been around the scene and obviously attracted good expenses because they're good players. But there's one thing that I'll say, and I'm quite deep and meaningful with them when I speak to them about them. I can see through it. Even if they are looking for money, if they're not doing it on the pitch, they won't last long at this club, because as a Sunday League manager, which I am technically, I've always had players who's played for nothing, and you can see the effort that's been put in by someone who's playing for nothing. And if someone's getting expenses, you expect a bit more. So if there's anyone who's not pulling the weight, it don't get far with me, because I can see through it. And I put that down to being a Sunday League manager and starting as a Sunday League manager, because it is the grassroots of football. It's bare bones. We when we're Sunday League, we don't have matching kits. The change rooms are falling down around his ears. Like it's basic football. So I can see it, and like I say, at step 6, it has got a bit silly. There's no doubts about it with the expenses and stuff, but it come, like I say, it's come part and parcel with being successful at this standard.
It's very old. I feel like it's very old school, that kind of management and the way it is. I mean, you don't get many managers saying that. Would rather play, pick players that play for nothing. You don't really hear too many.
Like I say, I think it's just for the fact that I've started at the very, very bottom. I've started as a Sunday League manager. I did the under-21, so it gets a little bit more professional, because obviously at Retford United at the time, under-21s were a good side. We had good facilities, we had good changing rooms, and we had some good players coming through the system. So, and when you're coaching these lads, you get a bit more out of it on the 21 level. But obviously, I was doing both at the time, doing the Sunday League stuff before. Obviously, we started Retford FC. So, but yeah, step 6, I can see why people get frustrated with the expenses side of it. I really can, and I understand it. But I know for a fact that as a manager, my morals are exactly the same as when I had people playing for nothing and people who play for expenses. So, but I'm one of them managers that I feel that people can sit there and say, "Oh, we'll go to have an interview, say after the game, and say this, that, or about the game." But at this level, you can put them in a formation, you can have a chat about what you want them to do on the pitch, but it's the players that manage it. Going into technical stuff at this level, it's just above, like I say, it's just above Sunday League, really. But if you get extra better players down there, you can obviously win leagues and go higher, and then as you go higher up, things will happen for the club.
Yeah. I mean, you started your managerial career at Retford under-21s, Retford United.
Yeah.
Did you always want to go into management after you played?
100%, yeah. I think one thing that I saw when I was younger, I learned a lot about basic football in some good clubs. Like I said, the one club is the Flying Scotsman, which was just a Sunday League team, but they were winners. They were winners, and I enjoyed learning a lot from some of them, because they had played higher up, and they were dropping down to play Sunday League. So, and then obviously with my knee injury, which was a nightmare for me. I just couldn't get fit. I just thought, well, I can give something back here. I can help with under-21s, and Rich Williams, who was the under-21 manager at the time at Retford United, gave me the opportunity to help him, and I pushed on there. And but I still obviously did me Sunday League as well. So I just felt that I feel I'm a good man manager. I feel that at this level, at step 6 as well, you've got to be able to know what players to put your arm around and what players want to kick up the backside, and I feel that I'm quite good at that. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the changing rooms. I enjoy the basic football, and I mean the lowest low football, in terms of we play for each other, we work hard, and obviously after we have a drink and then we go home, and what will be will be. Don't get me wrong, this club now is starting to set standards that's more professional, and I've had to go on that journey with it, which I have, and I've enjoyed that as well. So, but I won't get above my stations. I know where I've come from. Being a Sunday League manager, I know where I started, and like I say, I'll keep them principles as I go on.
Was there any opportunities, especially even when you were Retford United under-21s before FC was formed? Was there any opportunities that sort of came your way, that there was great clubs that were after you?
Yeah, there was. I think the reason why I did Retford United mainly was that I could obviously see what was happening there, and how much trouble they were getting themselves in money-wise. And obviously having the Sunday League side that I managed, I could see that them players there who were getting a little bit older, and some of them can play at a decent at step 7, which is Central Midlands that we went into. I felt there was an opportunity to use local players and create a team, because at that time I had players who were coming from the 21s that weren't getting looked at. Obviously, because they were a little bit higher up, but as they were dropping down the leagues, they still weren't looking at them players. So I won't go into everything about what happened up there, but obviously it's for all to see that they dropped from where they dropped to where they are now, and obviously they're on the way back up now. And it was difficult to try and make people up there understand that they needed to start again because of all the situation that we're in. But again, it wasn't happening, and some of the local lads were getting frustrated, and an opportunity arose to obviously start another team, which is what we did. And yeah, it was good. It was hard. It was difficult to start off with, but what I had to do was put people in the right places, create a committee, which we did, but full of local people, and try and make them buy into the idea that I had with Kev. We had the idea of just having local players to play, and we did that, and it was fun from the very start. It's been fun, and it's still enjoyable now. So as long as you're enjoying it, you're doing something right. Because once it becomes tedious, you lose your way a little bit. It's time to make a change, or yeah, it's been good. It's been a good journey so far, and long may that continue.
Do you feel like a lot of the troubles that they had? I remember making the video about that a couple of years ago, just about sort of how the two clubs came about, and there was a lot of financial trouble around. I think it was about 2012, I believe it was, around that time. Yeah. Was it, even though you're here at FC, was it sort of sad to see how Retford United fell and started to come back out?
I think there's a lot of Retford United supporters who think I'm massively anti-Retford United, but there's situations up there that I can remember where they had a big VAT bill that they couldn't pay, and I think there was a guy who was up there, I can't remember his name, but he sorted it all out for Retford United to get it sorted for them, and they did that. But there were times where I was going up there with under 21s and we had no heating, they had no hot water. Luckily, being a plumber, obviously there were times they had no oil, they had the oil tank split at one time, and I managed to sort out that for them, and stuff like that that's not seen and not remembered, which is a big thing. And there was a lot of things that went on it was just frustrating for the lads, especially the under 21 lads, that it was going downhill, and there's a lot of people there I've got a lot of respect for who's still there. Some of the older guys who follow a moment away, they've got a great support, and I still speak to them now. Yeah, there's the banter. Obviously, we're in the same league, but they'll be looking across here and thinking he's done what he said he's going to do, and they've got to admit that, because there was a lot who said we couldn't do what we've done down here. Even little things like saying you can't get floodlights next to railway line. Well, we can, and it's done. Do you know what I mean? So, but for me, there's no animosity, other than there was little things that went on against me and I think Rich at the time. But there were little things that went on that was disappointing after all the hard work we did. But like I say, it's now a rivalry, and not a nasty one, but there's a rivalry with any town that's got two teams. So listen, I enjoy it. I pull off it. We got a good hiding twice last year, but I got my own back on Boxing Day this year. So it's going to be interesting next Monday when we play them. So, but look, it brings the town together, and there's a lot more positives than these negatives about having two teams in this town. And but no, there's no, like I said, nothing from me in bad will. They've got a good backer now, and they're on the way back up, and obviously they're in third at the moment. So yeah. Hopefully that continues. Yeah,
growing up then, in terms of managers then, did you ever look at managers and think, certainly in the local scene, or even on TV, you think, yeah, I want to be like that?
I think there's no good looking at managers higher up in the football world. I think you've got to look at your locals, and there was one manager who was at Retford United when I was younger, a guy called Neil Poynton, who was an ex-professional. I think he was at Everton. And I loved watching him. He's the way he set up and the way he had his players running through walls for him was unbelievable at the time. And they had some great players, but he really worked them hard. And I was lucky enough to watch a few of his training sessions when I was younger. And he was brilliant. There's Mark Shaw who works uptown who basically had a lot of time for Mark. I knew him quite well, and he was a good coach. He did really well at Worksop, and he had a stint at Retford United as well. And again, I watched him from a distance. And then there's my old foe of Brett Marshall, who I'm good friends with, but he typifies for me at this level a very good manager, man manager. Like I said to you before, it's all right coaching and whatever, but you've got to be able to manage people, and he was good at that. And I watched him have some very successful teams at Retford United. He had no budget at Retford United when he won that league, and he was superb for what he did. And managers like him, you look up to, you do. And he's straight bull. He says it how it is, and however he sees it, he says it. And you can't beat that. You can't beat that at this level, because some players need it saying straight. Like I said to you earlier, some need their arm around them, but some need to be said straight. And Brett was very good at differentiating between the two at times. And I had a good opportunity to watch him firsthand. So yeah, and then there's Willie Gamble, who was my assistant for a long time when we first started the club for quite a few years. He was an ex-pro at Lincoln, and he's a local guy. He's from Retford. Great footballer, great striker, and I learnt a lot from him at the time. Being my assistant, he taught me a lot. I love working with him. It's just a shame he's not involved now, because there's times when I look across and think, what would Willie do here? And I still to this day, I still change things in games where what we used to when we first started, and going back to basics at times, and get into if we're playing a 4-3-3, go straight back to 4-4-2 or whatever. Last year we did it many a times, but yeah, he's another one that I've got a lot of respect for, and love working with, and learn a lot from.
As a manager, does it frustrate you a lot, even when you see it now, where you've come across teams where, because everyone wants to play like Pep Guardiola, and everyone wants to play after the back, and everyone wants to have this possession-based football. Is it one of these like pet peeves where you think, I don't want to copy a style and a fashion that's going these days?
The problem is with playing out from the back and stuff like that, you've got to have the players to do that. You've got to have the players to be comfortable to do that. And at this level and the pitches that you're playing on, playing out from the back for me is a no-no. There is times when you can do it if you're in control of the game and the keeper can roll it out and play out from the back. At times you can. There is situations where you can do that, but I think for me, like I said before, being where I've come from and understanding the basics of football, we don't need to do that. I think you can win games by being the old-fashioned way. Sometimes a long ball, a flick on, a player running through and scoring it. That can happen a lot in this level. It doesn't need to be attractive football. Sometimes you've just got to get it down and spin them and whatever, and put them under pressure and make them face their own goal and get up the pitch as quick as you can. Just basic things that you can do at this level. There's, as we know, Premier League and stuff. It's interesting. I hardly watch it anymore, Premier League football, because of the way it is at the moment. I don't watch it as much. I enjoy certain games that we all do, but generally I don't. I'd rather watch the Championship, because it's different football. It's more competitive in terms of the rough and tumble and different. You don't have as many teams trying to play out from the back, and you see football that I grew up with really at Championship level. So and that's disappointing to see. But no, I think, like I say, it's at this level you have to play with what you've got, what standard of play you've got, and that's all you can do at this level to win football matches.
Because I always think with football, especially non-league, it's like, I always think football, people who've not necessarily played the game, but have overcomplicated the way football is now. And sometimes I've been to loads of games, and you've managed quite a lot of games, and you might watch games as well that you're not involved in, and you think, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? Why are they playing? Even when you're not at games or at this, do you tend to, instead of just watching it, just analysing it?
Yeah, this season I've done a lot, because obviously we're in a new league. I've had to go and watch a lot of new teams that I've never seen before, moving into UCL. So it's been interesting watching the Nottingham sides, because obviously, again, we've not played most of them. It's been interesting watching your Clay Crossers, your Staveleys. They've all got different ways of playing, and I think for me it's been one of them seasons where I've had to go and watch what these teams are doing and how they're playing, how we're going to set up with them. I think I've watched every single team play when we haven't played them in this league. I've done a lot of mileage this season, but that's just because I enjoy it. I like getting out to different grounds. It's nice to go to a ground and not be have the match day pressure of you taking your team there and watching. And like I say, I was just mentioning Brett Marshall earlier. I've been to a lot of games with Brett where we've been and watched Staveley or whatever, and Pinkston and teams like that, and just see how they set up. So I think you've got to, if you want to succeed and get higher up in the steps and get into step 5 and so on, you've got to do your own work. And I think for me this season it's been an eye opener with the way certain teams play, but like I say, showing our results, it's worked out well, and like I say, you've got to put the time and effort to do that.
What have you found differently then from UCL from NCL? Because I always find with NCL, and I've covered a lot against NCL, it's a lot more physical for me than UCL, and UCL has felt a little bit more technical in some ways.
It depends. I think you've nailed it a little bit there. I think there is some physical sides in there, don't get me wrong. The one thing with the NCL, and this is not taking anything from any of the teams, because I love playing in the NCL, I love going to all these games, but Nottingham sides, or obviously that, the game's never over. And the game is never, the fitness levels compared to the NCL, totally different. Yeah, you got your physicality in the NCL, but the fitness wise in the UCL is a lot different. Some of these Nottingham sides can run for 90 minutes. They don't even have to be technically good footballers, some of them, but they work so hard, they put you under pressure, they don't give you a minute. You can go 2-3-0 up, and you're still unnerved, because they still keep coming at you, wave after wave. We played a team called Holwell who were near the bottom of our league, and we played them away. And we played all right. We did well, had a good game. We won 4-2. But even at I think we went 4-1 up. But there were still waves of attack, and there was causing a lot of problems because the fitness levels were just unbelievable. And like I said, there's many examples of that this season. And I've even heard other managers in this league say the same thing. In the UCL, it's who've come from the NCL. It's a lot different. It's a lot different, and it's good. It's been good for me as a manager, because I've seen a different side of how the Step 6 play, and obviously being used to the NCL, it's given me a little bit of things to think about, and hopefully it'll put me in good stead in the future.
I always think last season, I mean, the standard of NCL last season was absolutely ridiculous. The amount of, you had 5 teams that had 90 plus points, and compared to this season, I do feel that, and I've seen, and you might have a different opinion than me, but I felt the UCL has never, in terms of the standard and even the teams, I don't feel like they've been as strong as the NCL, but I feel like this season, where the likes of yourselves, Retford United, Staveley and Claycross have just added a bit more to the UCL, and I feel like I know disrespect to the NCL, because I think there's been some great teams, and Horbury have done brilliantly this season to win the league, but I feel like the standard hasn't been as good this season. I've
watched a few NCL games this season, and I've noticed a bit of a shift of the standard. Not all teams, because like I say, there's some of the teams that I have watched have done really well. But I'm week in, week out in UCL, so it's difficult to make a judgment really. But from what I've seen, it wasn't as good as last year from what I've seen. But like I said, there's no taking away from any of the teams. You play what's in front of you, and you play what players you've got. But you've got to understand, like, some of the players that have come to ourselves, come to Claycross, Staveley, you've got to look at Retford United. Obviously, you've got to look at some of them. All them played in the NCL, so there's a lot of quality come out of the NCL to come in the UCL. So, but again, I think NCL's still a good. I love the NCL, the way it's set up, and I love the teams that are in there. There's some really good established teams in there, so I enjoyed it. But I've got to say, I've really enjoyed it in the UCL, and playing new teams has been it's been good.
As well as that, and the recruitment of players as well. Have you sort of had to not so much change the way, in terms of maybe geographically of where players come, but also have you had to kind of expand them even broader? I mean, I remember we were talking about this in the summer, I think last year, and talking about sort of bringing players in and that. Has it maybe broadened your eyes a little bit going into UCL?
Yeah. There's players that we've brought in this season that are obviously know the UCL, which is good. I think the big thing for me this season, and it's going off that what you just asked a little bit, is that I think obviously as a club we've attracted better players because of the way the club's gone and the fact that we've been able to have a budget for the first time, and it's been interesting. It's been interesting the contacts that I've had from players to see if there's availability to come here pre-season this year, and I think the attraction's there because of the facilities that you've got in front of you as well as so. But yeah, we've obviously got lads who know what the UCL's about, who's played in the UCL, so it has broadened my horizons a lot on different players. And obviously if you bring a player in, they know a player, and that's how you have to do it at this level. I think you bring a player in, they come here, they enjoy it, and they speak to other players who are at that standard or higher, and they say, well, actually, it's a good club. They're doing everything right. They've got these plans. They're always moving forward, which we are, and that's how you do it at this level. You pull on your players that you bring in to other players, and that's what we've done this season. And there's, like I say, I've had a bit of criticism this year about the amount of local players, because obviously the club was started for local players, which I'll never shy away from. People saying, well, where's your local player? We've still got a lot of local players involved in the club, and we're the only Retford side that's got an under-21 team, so all these local players are still within the club. So it's been good, and some of the quality of the players who brought in this year is unbelievable. And Scott Bonan's probably the first one that comes to mind, ex-professional. I think people, when he first come, would be like, well, what's he going to be like? Is he going to come here? He's been at this level, that level. Is he going to come and not base it? He's coming out of his career. He's coming down his career, and is he coming just to have a kick about? Unbelievable guy, and he's buying into everything that we're doing as well, on and off the pitch. He's been a big help to me, and someone to pull a lot of information from, because he's played under some very good managers, and then obviously you're Adam Chapman, who's been there, done it, played at Wembley, had his ups and downs, but he seems to have settled here now, and he's obviously now assistant manager, so he's buying into everything that we're doing as well. So it's good. It's good to get these players in. I've been very lucky, and like I said, some of the quality we've brought in this year has been brilliant for me, because I'm managing players that have been there and done it. So it's a new one on me. But as I said to him, they'll only get the same Chris Woodhead, Sunday League manager. I'll say how it is. That's how I feel. There's my passion that I'll show you on and off the pitch, and all I want to do is obviously be successful, and they need to buy into that as well.
Well, we've seen, of course, it's been 10 years, as we mentioned as well. What was sort of the criticisms that you got when this club was first kind of formed?
I think I said it earlier. I think people don't like the fact that there's obviously two teams in the town, and I disagree with it massively, especially at junior level. We've got Retford United and ourselves have got great junior sections, and I think you've got to understand that as a world we're growing, this town is growing considerably, as you know. Yeah. We're getting new estates here than ever. There's more kids wanting to get involved, and so it is going to be. This place is going to be a sports hub. There's no doubts about it. It's going to be for all the community to enjoy. And why I get criticism for two teams and people saying why we've done it and whatever, but at the end of the day, we all do things at certain times that we feel is the right thing at the time, and this has proven to be probably the best decision for Retford, because there's more people involved in football. If there was only Retford United, you can only do so much with the kids because there's only so much space, and you've got one club. Yeah, fair enough, your attendances might be quite high because you've got one club to go and look at, but we've actually gone the other way. From 80, 70, 60 attendance to last year was averaging 140 something. This year we're averaging over 200. We're still in the same town, so it's good. There's more people involved in football, and that's my biggest thing. The reason is I love my football. I love Retford, and I want. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and go, I don't want Retford United to be successful, because that'll be a lie. I'm obviously I'm Retford FC through and through, because I've obviously co-founded it. But I want to see local teams do well, and that includes Retford United. So the criticisms that I get, it is what it is. There'll still people be criticising me up till when I finish here, but for doing what I've done. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing for me is there's more people from Retford involved in football, and that is all that I care about.
Because how, I said in the tagline, I said, how can a town as the 10th the size of Doncaster have two teams, and two really teams that are competitive so well? It's just, it's great to see as well, and you don't get the likes of Worksop or Gainsborough. Retford is the town, as you mentioned there. It's, you know, and of course, you know, being living in Retford the last few years and understanding, you know, the football and even the history of football in Retford. It's quite fascinating, the fact that this town's actually got quite a rich history of football.
Massively rich. There's obviously, like I said, you've got your Retford Town that was a big club at the time. They were playing against some big sides, Retford Town. The Retford Rail, who obviously played down here as well. And obviously your Retford United. So it's steeped in history. So it's always been a footballing town, and like I said, Retford Town at the time were playing in Shamrocks, I think they were called, and they were playing against some big clubs, very big clubs, and that goes back years. So it's brilliant. And like I said to you, the interesting thing is, it's like you look at Gainsborough. They've only got one team, and they tried it. They had a team called Gainsborough Town, and they started it. That fell away. No disrespect to them, but there should be another a good team in Gainsborough. I think it'd be good for and getting local lads playing at a decent level. But you've got to have someone who wants to go and do that. And if you haven't got the people to put time and effort, it's not going to happen. The other side, it works up town, but as you've just mentioned, but you've got SJR, and they very similar to what we did. Like I said, I had a good chat with Andrew Guest when he first started it, and that's good to see. And they've played against Worksop. Do you know what I mean? So I think they played them in a Sheffield. I went Alanshire Cup game, and that goes down in history. They've got the two teams played each other, and it's good. It's good competitive towns that have got two teams that we have, and we're in the same level. Both got people behind both clubs that want them to do well. So for me, it's a win-win situation.
And of course, you know, we positioned the camera here because Chris, before we actually did this, wanted to show the picture behind, which of course was Derby Day on Boxing Day. That was a big win as well.
Yeah, massive win.
I mean, the Retford Derby. I mean, there's been some scores. There's been some games. I mean, I went last season to the 6-1 game, which was just a crazy game of football. But the derby itself, I mean, you played United in Central Midlands, which of course the season you won the league.
Yeah.
I mean, just the derby itself, it's just been magnificent, hasn't it?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Like I said, there's not many step 6 sides, or even step 7 when we're in Central Midlands, that's getting over 1,000 people to football matches. And like we obviously, when we played Central Midlands, I think we drew away 0-0 or 1-1, and here we beat them 5-0. So we gave them a good hiding that night. And then, like I say, we obviously got promoted that year, and I was willing them to get back into our league so we could play again, because it's brilliant. You've got your schools around here. There's kids that's got Retford United hats. There's kids that's got Retford FC hats, and there's that rivalry between them. And obviously they go to school together. The juniors play against each other. All I can see is positives from it. And like I said, last season we got a good hiding twice, and hey, I had to stand in front of a camera and take it both times. But I really enjoyed Boxing Day that's just gone, and it was enjoyable. But and look, I've got a lot of respect for what they're doing, and I hope they've got respect for what we're doing, because at the end of the day, the town is flourishing, and football's flourishing, and both teams are contributing to that.
Well, Chris, you've been absolutely brilliant. One final question then. In terms of the future then of football in Retford, where not just FC but for the whole town as well, where do you see this going in maybe the next 5 to 10 years?
I know where we're going. I can only answer for us. We've got, like I said, I've got some big news coming up very soon. That as soon as I can unveil it, I will. But this area will be a sports hub, and the club will be sustainable on the pitch, off the pitch. It will have more people involved in the club. There'll be more access for different sports at the ground. Now we've bought the whole ground, we can obviously develop, and with obviously the council say so, develop the ground to make more people involved in this football club. And obviously, like I say, multi-sports is something that again I want to look at in the future. But going back to football, I know for a fact we've got the right people in the right places. We've got people who absolutely love what we've done, where we've come from nothing, from 2 goalposts that are out there, to what we have now. The help and support we've had, the guys who's come in this season to obviously with the finance of what we've done, and myself and my brother who've also put a lot into it, all my family that have put into it. We are not going to do what we've done to this point not to keep pushing on, because I think for me it's all about the fact that we're leaving something for them, the next generation, to have a football club in the town that everyone can enjoy. And that is the big thing for me, the enjoyment of football, for this club, for the people, and like I say, for Retford FC, like I said, that's the only team I can talk for and answer for. We'll keep pushing, and yeah, we'll be around for a very long time.
Chris, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
There wasn't that a great episode, and it was great to talk to Chris as well on the eve of the Retford derby, which, like I say, very excited to do, and it's a derby that's close to my heart. And like I say, some great people. Thanks to Chris, who gave up his time to talk to me as well. I mean, yeah, there we go. I mean, hopefully, well, like I say, some more episodes coming down the pipeline. If you enjoyed this and you enjoy non-league content, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, like I say, more videos, more episodes are coming. Stay tuned.